Welcome to Part 3 of the RLAS DA Form 5960 training. During this training, we will identify common mistakes users make when creating DA Form 5960s and how to avoid them. These are the common mistakes we have seen since fielding the RLAS DA Form 5960. First mistake: processing a DA Form 5960 for BAH without dependents for a soldier who has dependents simply to pay an order. Some units do this when they need to pay an order but do not have the soldier's dependent documentation. Do not do this. This will result in an underpayment of BAH, and it may be many months after you process the DA Form 5960 for dependents before the soldier receives the remaining BAH, since the UPC will have to review and adjust the BAH payment. The correct procedure is to contact the soldier and explain that he or she will not receive pay until they provide their dependent documentation so you can create an accurate DA Form 5960. Second mistake: there is one exception regarding processing DA Form 5960s for BAH without dependents when you don't have the soldier's dependent documentation. The exception is for Unit AT processed in the Radar's Unit AT module. Do not hold up processing Unit AT pay in RLAS due to soldiers missing a DA Form 5960. The correct procedure is to process an RLAS DA Form 5960 for BAH without dependents. Advise the soldier that he or she must provide their dependent documentation to you as soon as possible. Process a new RLAS DA Form 5960 when the soldier provides dependent documentation. Third mistake: processing a DA Form 5960 as single when the soldier is divorced. Although single soldiers and divorced soldiers with no other dependents receive the same rate of BAH, all dependency status changes must be documented accurately on the DA Form 5960 for two important reasons. One, the dependent information on the DA Form 5960 must match the dependent information in RLAS personnel. If it does not, you will not be able to process active duty pay for the soldier in RLAS. Two, dependent information must be accurate to meet audit readiness requirements. Units must create a DA Form 5960 in RLAS for divorced soldiers showing them as divorced. This creates an accurate audit trail of the soldier's BAH entitlements. The correct procedure is to contact the soldier and explain that he or she will not receive pay until they provide their divorce documentation so you can create an accurate DA Form 5960. Fourth mistake: processing a DA Form 5960 showing the soldier is assigned to family type government quarters when the soldier is residing in privatized housing. Privatized housing is not considered family type government quarters. Active components and AGR soldiers living in privatized housing receive BAH at the with dependent rate and pay the housing office directly. TPU soldiers residing with an active component or AGR soldier in privatized housing are entitled to BAH. Soldiers residing in true family government quarters are not entitled to BAH. TPU soldiers residing in privatized housing should have a BAH status code of 0 on their MMPA or the UCPMR rather than a 2. 2 means assigned to government quarters. The correct procedure when creating a DA Form 5960 for a TPU soldier residing in privatized housing is to answer no to the occupied government quarters question. Fifth mistake: processing a DA Form 5960 showing the soldier is a dependent parent 1 Delta when the soldier is really a custodial parent 1 Charlie. A dependent parent is a parent of the soldier or the soldier's spouse who is considered the soldier's dependent for BAH purposes. Soldiers who want to claim a parent as a dependent must obtain approval from the Defense Finance and Accounting Service, DFAS, on a DD Form 137. Although soldiers with dependent parents and soldiers who are custodial parents receive the same rate of BAH, all dependency status changes must be documented accurately on the DA Form 5960 for two important reasons. 1. The dependent information on the DA Form 5960 must match the dependent information in RLAS personnel. If it does not, you will not be able to process active duty pay for the soldier in RLAS. 2. Dependent information must be accurate to meet audit readiness requirements. Units who pay a soldier BAH based on dependent parent and without an approved DD Form 137 are initiating erroneous payments that are subject to collection and audit readiness failure. Sixth mistake. While some marriages are indeed a mistake, the purpose of this slide is to discuss DA Form 5960s for soldiers married to another soldier. You must take extra care when processing BAH for a TPU soldier married to another TPU soldier if they have other dependents. Initially, you must process a DA Form 5960 for each soldier answering yes to married to another soldier and yes to other dependents. This will result in each having a BAH status of 1 whiskey, member married to member with other dependents on their MMPA and the UCPMR. When only one of them is on active duty, that soldier will receive BAH with dependents based on the other dependents. When both soldiers are on active duty at the same time, only one is entitled to BAH with dependents. Before processing the order for pay, you must create a DA Form 5960 for the lower ranking soldier and answer yes to married to another soldier and no to other dependents. This will result in the lower ranking soldier receiving BAH without dependents. Once the higher ranking soldier is refrad, create a DA Form 5960 for the lower ranking soldier answering yes to married to another soldier and yes to other dependents. If the higher ranking soldier was refrad while the lower ranking soldier is still on active duty, submit a USAR Form 24R to the USAR Pay Center to request the additional BAH due to the soldier. Include the spouse's Social Security number. Seventh mistake. A common mistake with TPU soldiers married to an active component soldier is processing a DA Form 5960 as married with civilian spouse, BAH status 1 alpha, or soldier married to soldier with other dependents, BAH status 1 whiskey. TPU soldiers married to an active component member should always have a DA Form 5960 for soldier married to another soldier, no other dependents, BAH status 0I. The reason for this is that active component member always receives BAH with dependents if the couple has children and when the TPU soldier is not on active duty. If a TPU soldier with an AGR or active component spouse who is not living in family government quarters is entitled to BAH at the without dependents rate. Eighth mistake. Another common mistake is processing one DA Form 5960 for a soldier that is newly divorced but also a custodial parent. For this instance, you must create two DA Form 5960s. The first will only capture the divorce and the second will capture the dependent child. If you try to capture the divorce and the dependent child on the same DA Form 5960, RLAS will determine the BAH status to be single with no dependents, and the soldier will receive BAH at the without dependent rate. The correct procedure is review the soldier's BAH codes on the MMPA or the UCPMR prior to creating a DA Form 5960. In this example, the last change to the soldier's BAH status was a marriage with an effective date of July 19, 2013. Therefore, 2 DA Form 5960s are needed to update the soldier's BAH status. Process a DA Form 5960 for the divorce. This DA Form 5960 will process in the pay system when you assign your next ADARS or RADARS TL. Create a second DA Form 5960 to capture the soldier as a custodial parent on the day after assigning the ADARS or RADARS TL. You will access the DA Form 5960 from the DA Form 5960 module in Resource Management. Once the DA Form 5960 populates, you will answer all of the applicable fields as they pertain to the soldier's divorce. For the question, does soldier have dependents or is paying child support, you will answer no on this DA Form 5960. On this DA Form 5960, you are only capturing the divorce. Then select Submit. You will print the DA Form 5960. The soldier and the commander must sign, and it must be I-permed with supporting documentation. This DA Form 5960 will process in the pay system when you assign your next ADARS or RADARS TL. In the RADARS 5960 value, the soldier is showing as divorced and would only be authorized BAH without dependents. Remember that you will have to go in on the personnel side and change the marital status for these items to match. When you go to pay an order, if they do not match, the system will not allow payment. Remember, this DA Form 5960 will process in the pay system when you assign your next ADARS or RADARS TL. You must create a second DA Form 5960 to capture the soldier as a custodial parent on the day after assigning the ADARS or RADARS TL. You will access the DA Form 5960 from the DA Form 5960 module in Resource Management. Once the DA Form 5960 populates, you will answer all of the applicable fields as they pertain to the soldier as being divorced and a custodial parent. For the question, does soldier have dependents or is paying child support, you will answer yes on this DA Form 5960. You will continue to answer the questions regarding the dependent child. Then select Submit. You will print the DA Form 5960. The soldier and the commander must sign, and it must be I-permed with supporting documentation. This DA Form 5960 will process in the pay system when you assign your next ADARS or RADARS TL. The second DA Form 5960 will code the soldier as 1 Charlie, and the soldier will receive BAH with dependents based on the dependent child. In the RADARS 5960 value, the soldier is showing as divorced but has 1 dependent and would only be authorized BAH with dependents. The soldier is entitled to BAH with dependents based on being a custodial parent. Remember that you will have to go in on the personnel side and change the number of dependents for this soldier. This section shows the dependency information. Ensure that each DA Form 5960 is printed and signed by the soldier and the commander or alternate certifying officer. The DA Form 5960, along with its supporting documentation, must be uploaded into I-perms. Ninth mistake: preparing DA Form 5960s but failing to do the following criteria. You must have a valid substantiating documentation prior to creating a DA Form 5960. The soldier's signature certifies that all information on the form is correct, and the commander or alternate certifying officer's signature determines entitlement to BAH through a review of dependency documents. False claim on the DA Form 5960 can result in a fine or imprisonment or both. Failure to update RLAS personnel will result in not being able to process future orders for pay in RLAS and the soldier and unit receiving notifications from G8 regarding mismatched dependent data in RLAS personnel and DGMS RC. Uploading the certified DA Form 5960s to iPerms is critical, as there is no ability to store the signed DA Form 5960 in RLAS. The DA Form 5960 is a requirement document in iPerms and must be retrievable from iPerms for audit readiness compliance. Thank you for viewing Part 3 of the RLAS DA Form 5960. If you missed Parts 1 and 2, please look for those videos on our YouTube channel. Check back for more informational videos on reserve pay topics. If you have any questions regarding the information in this video, please contact your servicing RSC or RPAC. Please feel free to leave comments and suggestions, making sure to adhere to our posting requirements.